Hello everyone and welcome to a bonus episode of the FM show. I'm your host Tony Jameson, joined as always by RDF Tactics, aka Aaron Falloon and Maggio. Fellas, I will come and ask how you're feeling in just a second, because to provide context, we say it's a bonus episode because if we look at the date stamp, it's the 10th of October 2024. We launched an episode at 12 o'clock lunchtime today, and at 3 o'clock this afternoon that episode became somewhat redundant because if you haven't heard the news, Football Manager 25 has been delayed until March 2025. Aaron, I'm going to come to you first because you've already got the pet lip out. How are you feeling?
Oh, man. I'm heartbroken. I am genuinely heartbroken. Not even like from a content creator's point of view, just from someone that's been playing this game for, I don't know, goodness how long. Yeah, I'm a bit heartbroken. Still somewhat looking forward to it. Obviously, we'll talk a little bit more about that future, like later on in this episode, but yeah, I'm a bit heartbroken and my head's just going all over the place. Like, is it because of this? Is it because of that? Oh, it might be that actually. And yeah, that's all my head's been doing all day since that news come out. Oh, man.
Yeah, I think you're probably not the only one, Si, is it? Trying to work out the ifs, the buts, the whys, the whats and the maybes. But are you in the same boat as Aaron, or are you coming from a slightly different perspective?
I have a multitude of opinions on it. Part of me is mildly relieved, only because I'm going on my honeymoon at the start of December, and you know, for the sake of my marriage, the second time around, you know, it's probably best I don't go down the same route as the first one and get sucked into Football Manager and you know, neglect the wife. So from in that regard. But I fully understand, like for full-time content creators, for people who work at SI, you know, this is very damaging and very worrying. So I don't want to make light of the situation too much. But I also haven't decided on a save yet, so you know, it buys me a bit more time for that as well.
Yeah,
Gives me,
exactly.
You know, an extra 4 months to decide what actually I'm going to do in FM25. And do you know what? FM24 is a good game. I'm enjoying FM24. I don't feel like I've reached a natural conclusion in 2024 yet. I've got some ideas for some things I'd like to do, some short saves and things, and we can actually chat about that. Maybe that's something we can chat about next week. But yes, it's obviously disappointing. Like I am. And I was, and I still am, excited about FM25. So I'm disappointed it's delayed. I am excited about the prospect of FM25 and what it could be. Those are two opinions I can hold at the same time, much to some people's surprise that, you know, apparently I have to be disappointed and think it's the worst game in the world and Sports Interactive are the devils. No, that's not the case at all. You know, it's unfortunate, right? I mean, Tony, let's come. Where are you sat on this?
I'm a bit like yourself, to be honest. I'm disappointed, I think, is probably the overriding emotion, I think. Disappointed, and I think we all can be, right? Now, there's various levels of disappointment, which, again, we'll touch upon during the show. There's disappointment, there's anger, and there's outrage. And I think I'm just sat in the disappointed category. And I'm very happy and disappointed, right? Because, you know, yes, I was looking forward to FM25 coming out in November. I'm still excited, like you are, Si, that FM25 will come out in March. Very excited about that. Obviously, there was some rumblings, if you're part of the social media sphere, or like, you know, the general, like some of the comments we have on YouTube, people saying that we're worried that people thought there was something up, and then of course there was a slight delay from, you know, early November to mid to back end of November, and I was very much kind of being like, look, it'll be fine. Look, there's a big job moving into Unity, taking the game from what it was, from putting it into this brand new engine, redesigning bits, recoding. Obviously, there was, you know, reaction with regards to things being removed. And I was like, look, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. And if it's not, then I'll have to come out and say, okay, I was wrong. So you know what? Okay, I was wrong, right? Okay? Something's happened and it can't come out in November. But March is now on the table. So, yes, I'm disappointed. I don't think that there's anybody more disappointed than SI. I don't think they took this decision to cancel the November release lightly. Like, it's not like they just went, oh, you know what, let's do that for a laugh. Like, no, they will have some serious consequences with regards to licensing, with parent companies, you know, like they're owned by, you know, a rather large company who will be looking at going, hang on a minute. So there will be some issues with this delay. So they haven't done it lightly. They've taken action that they've felt is appropriate. And all that means now is that I think we're probably hoping that they can fix the things that they couldn't get fixed in November, so we actually get a better game in March. Aaron, does that sort of make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense, but like I said, I just don't know what to think. My head's just, I got a little bit of a head loss here. Where I don't know. I'm probably just above disappointed, to be honest. What makes it difficult for me to understand, and something that when I was streaming earlier, it was difficult to answer because I just don't know why, is the announcements of the roadmap and the pre-order dates, and then 10 days later, we're going to delay it till March. I think that just feels a bit, I don't know, just feels a bit iffy from my point of view. I just feel like you've already delayed it to September. They must have known at some point before posting the pre-order links and the roadmap and stuff like that, that it was going to be a tough ask, a tough job to get this out at that date.
I think that's a fair point. I think that's some comments that I've seen a lot of the announcement of pre-order with no actual match engine footage rubbed a lot of people up the wrong way a couple of weeks ago. And you're right. What's gone wrong in less than 2 weeks from pre-orders are available to we can't go right now, Si? I think that's where people are going to be trying to. Again, we're gonna use it. This is probably going to become a catchphrase for the podcast. People are plugging the gaps, like because there's so much unknown. So we will speculate, and sometimes that's actually part of the problem. We are speculating.
I think it's okay. I want to address one thing that I see some people saying, that they were implying that they released the pre-orders knowing that this was going to happen. Of course not. Like, releasing the pre-orders and then going back on it is going to cost them more money than anything. They haven't stolen your money and run off with it. If anything, they've got to pay back the retailers now for refunds or whatever, and it's going to cost them in chargebacks and all that marketing and everything that they'd prepared. Of course not. Like, this is not a deliberate decision by them to do it this way to screw you over. Like, they're not the devil, right? So anyone who thinks that, like, I think you just got to take the tinfoil hat off for a minute. What's happened in the last 10 days? It probably hasn't happened in the last 10 days. Anyone who's worked on a project knows that the decision to delay it 10 days ago or whatever was probably made 2 months ago, right? Or 1 month ago, because that already had to get approval from the publisher, from the licensees, from it's probably on Game Pass this year, you know, so they've got to get approval from Xbox. They've got to go Xbox, hey Xbox, our game's not out on time. Like, is that okay? How can we arrange this? How can we, you know, what's this mean for our arrangement? Are we going to get paid more?
Netflix,
are we going to get paid
the
less?
mobile?
Netflix, potentially Apple Arcade. Obviously, it wasn't announced, but that was the same last year. The announcement came later for that, and there is a gap at the minute. So, you know, we would assume that Apple Arcade is somewhere in there as well. And it is on PlayStation Plus at the minute as well. So it's like, okay, right. So, you know, that decision that we learned 10 days ago was made 2 months ago. Or maybe not. Maybe it was made 1 month ago. But it doesn't matter. It wasn't made on the day 10 days ago. That was carefully prepared. And they've been working out how to say, we're sorry, it's not going to be ready, it's going to be delayed. They didn't just make that on the whim 10 days ago and got that out quickly. On the other hand, this probably was made more recently, like, you know, getting closer, and they're going... Anyone who's worked on a project knows, think deadlines slip. Sometimes they might have had and it could be anything. It could be that there's a problem in the game, and they thought they could fix it and they can't. It could be they discovered a different problem in the game. There could be a massive data leak. Maybe they started testing simming 100 years and realizing it was eating up all of your CPU. Each subsequent year was eating up more of your CPU. Like these kind of things happen. Sometimes products launch with these kind of problems in them. Like you only got to look at Intel CPUs and the damage Intel CPUs have done in the last 6 months to the company of Intel, and how broken they are, and these things should never have been released. No one realized for a few months or for months on end that these Intel CPUs were faulty. And it happens in games, and it happens like across. So what happened, it might be that there's a licensing issue. It might be like there could be all kinds of things that it could be. Any of those could have delayed the project for any amount of time. It might be a combination of issues, and they say, right, let's make sure we've got all of these fixed, because we can't, even if we can guarantee 7 out of 10 are fixed, if 3 aren't fixed, it's going to look bad on us. So, there's that decision 10 days ago, or the thing we saw 10 days ago, is not the decision that happened in the studio. And they also will have to go to, like I said, again, they have to go back to Sega and say, actually, we need more time again. And it's not even going to be out in time for Christmas. And it's not going to be out for most of this football season. And it's not even going to be out for the January update. There's only going to be about 2 weeks of the football season left by the time it comes out. Hey, Premier League, are you okay with that? Hey, and then what that means then for FM26, because they might already be having the discussions. They won't tell us, of course, but they might already be having the discussions. Okay, what does that mean for our licenses for FM26? Do we push FM26 as well? Do we have time to do anything for FM26 once FM25 is out? Because it's only a 6 month period, right? Does that mean we FM26 just shifts a month or two? Does it exist at all? Is it a small upgrade? And then the change starts becoming a lot bigger. So from what might have been, okay, it's just delayed until the end of November, now becomes, well, actually, we're going to have to shift a whole load of stuff around. There are other things, right? When a studio decides what they're going to release, they have to compare it to what else is releasing the same day. So when a movie comes out, you don't release your movie the same day that Avengers Endgame comes out, right? It's box office suicide. So you're like, okay, Football Manager's pretty niche, so it'd probably be okay. But it's still like, okay, where in that, January and February are pretty bad months for sales. For a studio, right? They are, there's things like Christmas in the way. So you gotta think, there's a whole load of culminating factors here. They've got to go reassess, probably the biggest thing, anyone who's ever dealt with lawyers with anything, anyone who's bought a house, right, and dealt with solicitors, how long does it take for a solicitor or a lawyer to get back to you, right? And there are contracts happening here. Contracts between the publisher, contracts with the licenses, contracts with partners. Unity is a partner, for example, or retailers are a partner. Xbox is a partner. PlayStation is a partner of some sort. Nintendo is a partner. Apple is a partner. Netflix is a partner. These are big companies as well. And they have to send their league. They only have they don't have a legal team that's dedicated to each of these. They probably have one legal team that has to deal with all of these. So a couple of people deal with each of them. And then that creates a ripple effect of they have to wait for all of those companies to come back to them, okay everything, approve everything, and then get it back on board. Sorry, I'm going on a bit, but I'm just trying to explain why the scale of the situation is probably a bit bigger than. Why is it taking 3 months if it was only going to take two weeks? Well, the fact they've had to move it at all adds significant time, right? It adds time to the development.
Also, as well, and I know you're saying, you've gone off on a bit of a tangent. I think it's useful what you've done, because, Aaron, a lot of what we're hearing at the minute, suggestions to mitigate this concern now with the delay of FM25 going into next year. There's a lot of talk saying, well, why don't they just bring out a data update to see us through until FM25? Now, Si's already touched upon there could be potential issues with licensing. When do the licenses start? When do the licenses end? You could have, various issues with regards to league structure. I mean, if you've signed a Premier League license for FM25, if that was meant to start in November and you're going through that, that's one issue. But also, you're going to take people away from FM25 to go back and work on FM24 when you've kind of stopped doing that. Does that make sense?
Nah, not for, nah. I wouldn't personally. I wouldn't. I wouldn't be happy. Like FM24 is FM24 in it, and for me, like if I'm that bothered about, like, I get it. Some people just want something official. They need it official. They don't want to go to a mod and have to mod the game. They feel like it should just come from SI. But I'm one of those people. Like I'm just, if I need it that badly, I'm just gonna go to a mod and just get it. Do you know what I mean? Then I'm just enjoying my game either way. I just play as if that's how the game came to me, but basically. But going back a little bit on side thing, like the only reason why I'm just not filled, like it's difficult to understand. Like even if you take in all that information, for me, like Unity was announced before FM24 was announced, so we know they've been working on it for so long, and it's very difficult to process and be confident in the fact that all they need is an extra 5 months. They've had how many months, and now it's all they need is an extra 5 months. That is very difficult. Maybe, and like you said, it might not even be 5 months. It could just be 2 months, like like you said, like because other things are playing a part in which can cause its delay. Then maybe the product can even be ready in 2 months. But then in my head, it's just they've had that many months. Why is it now all it takes is 2 months for it to be good and ready to give it to the public? That's why, like for me, it's just very. It's difficult to be that confident about it. And even just leading up to it, right? Like, we've had these discussions before, and then I've said, why don't they just release something on the 7th? They've done it before, blah, 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 blah. Like, everything just felt not smooth. Like, nothing felt like it went smooth running up to this game. People sensed that instantly. And I'm not saying that people are right. And, like, the point scoring thing, I don't get. Haha, see, I said I was right, blah, blah. I don't understand that. Like, we're all in it here because we all want a good game. So, who are you point scoring over? Like,
some people don't, I don't think. I think some people want... Actually, that's true. Some people do want a disaster.
Yeah, they do. You're true. You're right. Some people actually want a disaster. They want this. It's weird. That's ugly behaviour anyway.
It's crazy, you know. They're celebrating that they were right. I told you it was a disaster. I told you. Yeah. Like, great. Now you haven't got a game either.
My thing is, like, this is just because I'm so cringy and weird. Like, FM's had my back for how many years? For me now to have an outrage, flip my table over 1 year, the best that I can do is actually just go and buy the game, support it for this year, and hope, like many people are saying, FM26 can be good. They're still going to need your support. Like, and it's still, at the end of the day, it's still going to be the best football management game out there. There might not be many, but regardless, even if there was competition out there, we know Football Manager still would be the top game to play. It might just not be the FM as we know it just yet. And if we hang in there, just hang in there, wait for FM26, just wait for FM26 sort of thing. As people say, like, people have that feeling FM25 anyway was the beta for FM26. And they say themselves, like, we will start to see the actual rewards of moving to the Unity engine after a few years. So just stick in there, man. Stick in there. And I'm a content creator as well. Like, I don't want to put myself... I will say full-time because I stream every day, but, like, mentally... I know you say you still play FM24 because it's a good game, and I'm going to be real with you. Mentally, I've checked out of FM24. And that is partly because of them pushing FM is no longer going to be as we know it, and something big is coming. So I'm now prepared. I'm ready now for that big thing. And I've stopped making YouTube content, and I said this a couple episodes ago as well, that I've got ideas, but I'm saving that for FM25 because I don't want to be doing the content now and then I have to do the same content again for FM25. So I've actually been saving content for FM25. Obviously, it's a little... but it doesn't bother me that much. Like, that's not what's concerning me. I just care about the game, the product, the game. I made the decision to be a full-time creator. I don't want to say I put all my eggs in one basket because I feel that I have the personality or whatever. I feel I'm confident in myself that I'm a good enough creator to go and play FIFA for the time being, go and play a different game and entertain people when I'm streaming. I'm confident I could do that. So, but also we took that risk to be a full-time streamer and to relying on Football Manager to be a good game. And we can't then just turn around and start blaming Football Manager for not delivering, and now our household's being affected and whatnot, because that's the risk of what what we're doing. That's the risk. Obviously, the reward is Football Manager is a great game, and then we can show that off to the world, and we can whatever. That's the reward. But the risk is, on the other hand, that something could go wrong with Football Manager, and then that's it for you. But I don't know, man. For me, I'm just gonna carry on making streaming, creating content. Now that Football Manager 25 is actually pushed back, now I can actually push out the content that I wanted to do, and then do it again when Football Manager's out, and obviously we know it's in a stable mode.
Well, it speaks to what you posted out today about making a decision now about, are you a content creator or are you just a Football Manager streamer? They're two very, very different things. And you've mentioned a couple of points. There's a couple of things I need to come back on for what you're saying. Like, this feels very similar to me in comedy as well. Like, there used to be people who would only play certain chains of comedy clubs, and they would be like, they'll play them, they'll play them, they'll play them, they'll play them. Those comedy club chains went bust. Where do those people go? They then have to come into a different part of the circuit. Or during the pandemic, the comedy circuit shut down because there was no gigs. So some comedians had already seen that something was gonna happen, so had already started to build online followings or started podcasting. They then started streaming when, of course, the pandemic happened. They went to Zoom gigs. They diversified, and I think that maybe this is a point now where some people are going to have to start to diversify in terms of content, or they just ride it out. And there's no right or wrong answer there in that point.
That's the thing, right? Like, I just thought about it. You're not really at a disadvantage. It's not as if you're stuck on FM24, but other creators have got FM25, so you're just now at a disadvantage. Like, everyone's in the same position. Your viewers are in the same position. Your viewers are going to watch you regardless. Like, I'm back streaming after not streaming for how long? It's the end of the cycle. People are expecting FM25. I'm still I'm still going above my average view numbers and that sort of stuff. So, like, people are clearly turning up because they still want to see Football Manager content. Lucky enough for us, Football Manager 24 is a good game, despite all my rants and moans when I'm streaming. Despite that, I'm still playing it. So it's obviously a good game. I might be mentally checked out, so it might be difficult for me to really engage in the save, but I can still play it no matter what. Every day I can turn the game on, play a few games and enjoy it, whatever it is. Create a new tactic. I'm always going to be interested in doing that, and I can do that on streams and in videos.
What I've seen, and Si, I'm going to come to you next on this one, is what I've seen is, like, we talk about, and again, forgive us if you're part of the wider FM space. We are talking in a kind of almost in a creator language at this point, so apologies for that. We talk about this being what we call the downtime or the dead cycle of the game. Like, so people are naturally looking for the next game. They're maybe not looking for as much content with regards to FM24. Maybe they're not playing FM24 as much themselves, and they're already set for FM25. But we've got to say, from a podcast perspective, thank you to all of our viewers, because you're knocking it out of the park at the minute. So that dead space and that dead time doesn't seem to correlate. Like, there's clearly people are interested in the content. If the content's good, if the content's engaging, if you give people something to talk about, people will find it. And you're saying there about getting ready for 25. This is my point, Si, I want you to come in on, right? Is we have been planning for FM25, not just as streamers, as YouTubers, as podcasters. We're working out what we can do. This week, I had put a tweet out prior to today's news, of course, but I was saying, look, I wanted a collection of female football experts to add to our list of contributors. So I was collating all this stuff and getting like some really, really good people on board to have in our next few shows. And I've then had messages before we've hit record going, we pausing? Like, we're pausing for a little bit, right? I was like, well, we are, but we can still do it. So the plans doesn't stop, Si, does it? We just have to maybe move the plans back a smidge, but we just keep thinking.
I mean, do we even need to move the plan? Like, that's the thing, right? Like, I want to pick up on something you said at the start of the show. Is we put out a show today, And we said it was already redundant. At
Please go back
Actually,
and look at that if you haven't seen it, by the way, because it's really,
it's not
really
redundant.
good.
Yeah, I mean, it's talking about what we could include in FM20. In fact, it's less redundant now because it's talking about we show FM24 version on console, right? And what's in FM24 and what they could bring to the PC version in FM25. But that actually, that means it's not going to change. It just changes the timeline on which that becomes an actuality, right? So even if, let's say, next week or in 3 weeks we're talking about women's football, in 6 weeks we're talking about maybe what the managers, or in January, right, when they come back to us, we're talking about the match engine. We'll say the new gameplay reveal will be the end of January, right? Okay, we're still going to talk about it. We're just changing where we talk about it and where it's relevant. Okay, the reveals, we have to wait for Sports Interactive to show us. But the other stuff, like, you know, we had our discussion last week or 2 weeks ago on game save ideas, right? What's our save ideas? And that doesn't change. Like, you know, I mean, maybe we come up with some new save ideas because we're starting mid-season, but it's like that's still relevant for the next 6 months. In fact, if anything, we've given longevity to some of our videos that we've already created, right? It's made all my FM24 videos that have been out for 12 months. They've actually got an extra 6 months life now, shelf life. They're not expiring. It's like the rice in my cupboard, you know, it's probably been there for 15 years, but, you know, it'll still be okay. Yeah,
I've got a question, Si, right? With this delay,
I think you're going to ask me about my rice.
No. I'm going to move past your rice. I'm going to presume that the rice is probably fine. With this delay in the game, right? Will there be? This is speculative on my behalf, right? Will there be people now thinking, okay, you've given us a whole bunch of stuff that's not going to be FM25, right? You've now got another 5 months, 6 months to get this game ready. Can you crowbar international management back in? Can you put the stuff that you've taken out in? Like, because there will be people will think that, and they'll go, right, it's not that they're not fixing the problems that are there now. Some people will think, well, hey, you've got all this time in your hands, get it back in. There's 6 months to go. If you couldn't get it working now, chuck it in. Will people's expectations be raised like that and go, well, use that 6 months to get the full game that we were promised?
Okay, so I think there are a few possibilities here. One is the answer is no, because they're too busy trying to fix everything and get everything out. Okay, that could be the flat line, and probably the most likely line.
Yeah.
The second one is that draft mode, as it was planned to come back in an update, because they did say that would come back in FM25 around then.
Yeah.
Because I think they have a different team that works on it, right? I can't confirm, but I think there's a different team that works on draft mode. But they might, you know, work on multiple parts. They might do challenge mode and versus mode and other things, which aren't in, like, none of these. So you might find that actually gives them the time to get it ready for March to come out with the rest of it. The third possibility is, and in the statement, one of the things they said was, if I can find it, I think they said about how people had noticed, right? You know, noticed that it wasn't going to be ready. You know, people have been, you know, sharing their disappointment, like on social media. And we're thinking, well, okay, like why do they reference that? That might be related to international management. And that might be also because this year they're adding women's football, of course. And we know how important international management is to women's football. And I wonder whether there has been discussions that have happened that said, if you're releasing women's football this year, we need to have international management in the game. And people are pretty annoyed that international management is, like, flat out not in it. It needs improving, but they're annoyed it's flat out not in it. So if that's the case, let's take an extra 6 months and get it back in the game so it comes out with women's football. That's the third possibility. Probably the least likely, but I think, you know, because they're sort of saying, okay, we've looked and you guys are right, we can't compromise on standards. That's probably the biggest standard they're compromising on, is removing international management in a year that they're releasing women's football.
Yeah. That's a fair point, Aaron. Do you reckon?
Yeah, I haven't thought about any of that. I haven't thought about any of that. So I did think about what would happen. Like, can they bring in other the moles that they took out? But then I thought of I think Sai said it first or second, is that they're just going to be working on getting this out. So, like, a part of me even thinks that possibly we don't even see international football in FM25 anymore. And that's just something that we might have to take, because knowing what happened, what's gone on in October now, and in the game having to work hard on the game to get released in March, we have no idea when FM26 is supposed to come out. But let's just say with this conversation that it comes out in November or even December, then yeah, I don't think there's going to be enough time for them to bring in international football. But again, to their standards, they don't want to rush, because that's what they've just done here. That's the mistake that they're learning from now. So maybe they don't want to rush bringing in international football because they don't want to bring it in the same state it's in FM24. The whole point in taking it out was to improve it. So they don't want to bring it in and just rush it. So in my head, I'm thinking we might not even get it in FM25. I don't want to put that in people's heads and then give them any excuse to run away and say some crazy stuff online. But that's just what's in my head. Like, I'm not confident that international football will be even in FM25.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think, like, given the initial stance, it wasn't going to be in 25. Do you mean 26?
26, sorry, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No, 25. So I don't think international football will be in. So it was supposed to.
No, I was going to say
it wasn't going to come.
Draft
Okay.
mode that was coming.
Oh no, then I don't think it. Oh, then I don't think at all. Then I don't think at all. Draft mode is a different question now, because draft mode, because of what just happened with the World Cup, so that might be something that they actually will want to push and make sure it's. Because even with the World Cup, though, we don't know when the talks for that actually began. So maybe for FM24, the talks would have happened already by this stage. So, but again, like with that, yeah, in my head, I'm thinking, okay, draft mode might have to be a mode that comes back in because of the World Cup, and they should definitely want to capitalize off that. Well, and the World Cup will want to repeat that as well, because it possibly was a success for them as well. So.
Well, they were saying that draft mode was going to come back in at some point during the FM25 cycle. So as I was saying, they might use that time, presumably, hypothetically, it was already penciled in for March anyway, let's say. Like, then that would make sense. You release the game in March and draft mode is available from day one. Of course, in the ideal world, the game was released in November. It wouldn't be there on day one. However, it is now. I wonder, here's a question I'm going to ask, right? SI have wanted to be more transparent over the last few years about how they deliver information. We have these roadmaps, we have these development blogs. A lot of comments have been angled at the PR of how this has all been played out and how this information is disseminated. And it could go all the way back to when they announced FM25 before FM24. Is that a fair criticism to level at SI, that the PR has not been as good as it should have been, or has it been worse, Aaron?
So that's actually this is something I'm really passionate about, and this is something that I've been on the forums about, and I'm been speaking in the forums about. I don't think the communication. I don't think they've even been more open. Even that, I don't want to say promise, because I don't think they actually made the promise that we will. But I don't think they followed that up either. And again, this is all building up to my sort of frustration leading up to the releasements and the announcements, because I think the communication from SI, and it has been quite, like, we have to be honest, it hasn't been great for a very long time. And I still don't think it's actually any better. Even with their blog posts, it's like, we are going to improve. And then it's like, yeah, we're still waiting. So there was even a moment where they said that there's going to be a roadmap for future updates in FM24. So when they're releasing updates, we're going to know what they're working on. And that didn't happen. And it's just like, but what bugs me for me, like, it's difficult to get an answer from them when you're asking them on the forum. Like, there's a lot of stuff that they will answer to, but certain stuff like that, like, you just won't get an answer to. And it's like, but so we have no, like, you're not telling us why you can't communicate better, but you've also promised that you will, sort of thing. And it's like, yeah, that's another thing that I'm really, like, disappointed with SI with, is the communication. I just don't feel it's been great at any point. Even with the blog post, the roadmaps, again, like, week commencing, it's just so vague. It's just like, what are you doing to people? Like, at this point, I'm like, what are you doing to people? Because you're going to have people now from Monday, or whatever, what day was the 7th? So yeah, Monday, people are refreshing every hour of the day, waiting for news. Then it comes Tuesday, refreshing every hour. Wednesday, now they start tweeting Football Manager, hey, when's the news out? Because I remember specifically, I know people said that they've done this before, but I remember last year, they said week commencing 25th or whatever it was, something came out on the 25th, because what they were doing is week commencing, they weren't just announcing one feature, they were announcing multiple. So week commencing, something always came out on that first day. And then maybe something on the Wednesday, and then like a deeper dive on a Friday or something like that. But there was multiple updates through that week. This time, again, for me, I'm expecting something on Monday because what they previously done. And then because of no communication, like it's very vague. Week commencing, God knows what that means. Like when we're expecting it. So yeah, that's just that's one thing that I was very passionate about as well, is the communication with SI. And maybe that's a bit entitlement, like just expecting that. And again, it's not from a creator's point of view. I'm not expecting them to Discord message me and tell me these things and not tell the public. Is what they said to the public. So I'm expecting them. I'm expecting more blog posts. I'm expecting more roadmaps. Like the one thing that I said, right, like driving hype for FM25. I don't know legal things and all this sort of stuff, but driving hype for FM25, right? I had this idea, I'm like, you don't necessarily have to show the game to drive hype, right? So you're talking about all these animations and all these new motions. Like, I would have actually liked behind the scenes videos on your YouTube, people actually doing the work, showing us like this is actually happening, you're doing the work. And it would have been cool to see that sort of stuff, how they're actually creating the match engine and that sort of stuff. Like, people will appreciate seeing that sort of stuff. So then when it comes to now announcing you having to delay it, we can stomach it better. We can understand it because we can see the tough challenges that you're going through. Unity uploaded something 2 days ago, and that is the only time we really saw something say something tackles issues with moving engine. That's the first time we've heard of anything about any sort of issue or challenge moving to the engine. That was 2 days ago, and that was on the Unity YouTube page. And I'm thinking, why is something not similar on the Football Manager page? Why are we not seeing like behind the scenes? It's a big change. Like, it's a big thing for Football Manager. I think it should be documented, if anything. But, and again, they don't necessarily have to show the game. But I would have just seen the work that happens. Like, how do they do the work that goes into creating an animation or whatever it is? They don't have to show anything from the game. They could have showed the person doing the animation, just recording that, and showing whatever they're doing on the computer, with whatever, you know what I mean? But with their technology and stuff like that, they don't have to show the game, the match engine, none of that. They could just show there's one person, there's one motion, and the work that goes in just putting that one motion into something, into game form.
I'm going to say I agree. And I think it's important to say at this point, to probably clarify that, this is coming from us as a consumer rather than us as creators. And I think there's a very important distinction there as well, because I think sometimes there is maybe something levelled at people like ourselves who are on YouTube or streaming and think that maybe we only think from a creator's perspective, but it is important to remember that we are also consumers as well. So you're right. The idea of just seeing somebody in a motion capture suit, for some reason, that just makes you go, oh, they're taking it seriously. Like, I don't know what it is. It still feels like a thing. You go, there's someone in a motion capture suit. Oh, brilliant. They really know what they're doing now. Right? And Sai, would something like that just settle a bit of ease? Because we've seen a lot of people, consumers, talking about being worried, talking about SI owe us this, SI need to show us this. Like, we expect this. Like as consumers, is SI's job to sort of like fan those flames a little bit or stoke the fire a bit and go, yeah, come on, right? You know, let's ride it out and go, there's a little bit.
Okay, you do know that there is footage of mocap suits for the game out there, right?
That Football Manager pushing out.
4 years ago they put it out.
Well, yeah, that was.
But that's not. Come on, that's not driving hype for FM. I'm talking FM25 specifically.
It is for it was the Unity engine. But I'm talking
about driving hype leading up to a game. You're talking about a video 4 years ago. I'm talking about a video 4 years ago.
Get it back out. Well, it came out in that Forbes article. I mean, that's the weird thing. Like, there's that Forbes article that there was a load of information in. There was that Unity video that was a load of information in. That were just sort of like hidden away from everything else.
Even what Unity showed. It's on Unity though.
Okay, so here's a couple of things that I'm thinking about. I think you're right. Like from a consumer, it would certainly be better. But in terms of like, in my head, I always think, okay, why is it that way? And so for me, like, we're used to seeing Unity's an independent company, right? Or a lot of video game studios are independent. Sports Interactive is not independent and hasn't been since 2006. They are owned by Sega. They are an English company, English studio, with a Japanese publisher who owns them. Not publishes does publish their games, but is not solely acting as the publisher. Is also the owner of they are a subsidiary or whatever you want to call it, right? So that creates a different dynamic, because then they have to do everything through Sega's rules and how Sega wants it, and all their funding comes from Sega, and all their decisions come from Sega, and all their press releases come from Sega. And however, Sega as a Japanese company has a different culture of doing this. Japanese companies are very, very different in how they approach business and how they approach announcements and how they approach releases and how they engage with the media. You just have to look at how companies like Nintendo also do it. You can look at companies like Namco, Konami. All these Japanese companies have very different relationships with the consumers, the press, and their studios, and the games that they produce. And some of these companies have been going for a very, very long time with reason. Whereas like a lot of small independent studios are willing and able to share a lot more. They can put their game out in early access, give you a buggy game, you buy it on the proviso that it's an early access game, and they're gonna slowly add to it with development roadmaps, and you get updates. And Minecraft eventually releases 7 years after it comes out, and it's acquired by Microsoft, right? I don't think you could do that with, Sports Interactive can't do that. So
I think you can, because I'm sorry, I'm genuinely going through Sega's YouTube channel, and it's nothing but content like what I'm talking about, sort of.
What, showing the development of
not
upcoming
exactly
games?
Development. There's not exactly development, but there's many games here have this sort of. They're not showing actual gameplay mode, but they're showing something. It's always there's the whole thing is just filled with it. Quite literally.
Yeah, but they have but a lot of this is like old things or trailer. Like they release so many things.
Even if you hover
trailers,
over them, it's
right?
all about the game, right? And then there's two Football Manager videos. One is the Premier League license, where there's obviously no game, it's just them. And then that trailer that we got the other day, again showing.
But the ones about the game are the games that are like imminent. So probably the next one would be a Football Manager one, but because it's not
there's
imminent.
even like live shows, like people are asking questions. What's this one called? Like Your Sonic Shadow Generations questions answered. Like they're doing these things where the person standing on the stage and they're at a place where they're asking questions and someone's answering. So, like these things that Sega possibly, surely would approve of something that.
It depends.
We're not talking about something that looks clunky.
Sonic is a massive franchise.
Is that where
Sonic
the
is a
Football
very
Manager
big
podcast
franchise.
goes? Is it when Miles brings out the Football Manager podcast? Is that where it goes on the Sega website? Possibly.
I mean, here's the thing: we can't really compare Football Manager to Sonic. As big as Football Manager
It's not just Sonic; it's all other games. That literally just.
Yeah,
I'm trying
but
to
it's like even the Yakuza games are like massive compared to Football Manager, or the new Alien game or whatever. Like these are big franchises. Like they are gonna milk Sonic. There's a new movie coming out. There's a new game coming out. Like that's a long established franchise with the mascot of the company that makes them billions probably of pounds in revenue and merchandising and all sorts, and like people will tune into that. Whereas I don't think Football Manager would get. I mean, you can see, right? Look on the Sega channel at the trailers, okay? Like you can see the lowest trailer there is Football Manager, 5,000 views. Okay, you go on to the next thing for an old Yakuza game that's just being released on Switch, 10,000 views. Like a Dragon official trailer, 768,000 views. 5,000 views. As a YouTuber, 5,000 views or 768,000 views.
Yeah, it doesn't have to go on Sega's site though, because then if you go to Football Manager's YouTube channel, those vibes will be those views will be different if it was on Football Manager's YouTube channel.
But then they're produced. Then they have.
We're
to
talking
produce
5K. If they upload something like that, that's getting 5K an hour. We know that, Si. Being realistic, we know that. Football Manager posting a video like that on their Twitter, that is getting 5,000. That's getting 5,000 views in an hour. I
want to see how many they got on their trailer now. They got 100.
That trailer was gone. Like that the moment that got released, even just the link, even just the shares, the amount of engagement that Football Manager get on their tweets, even today's announcement, just any sort of tweet that Football Manager gets, it gets incredible engagement.
But it's tiny. It's tiny in
does.
Sega terms. It's tiny in Sega terms.
I'm not sure if you go on
honestly.
Sega's. I'm not quite sure about, like, if you're talking about social. I don't know.
No, I'm looking on the Football Manager YouTube page now, like the same video because they've uploaded it to both. And like it's 100,000 on the Football Manager channel, but it's still tiny compared to like Yakuza, which is a very Japanese-centric game. You know, it certainly doesn't have the global appeal. A little bit it does, but like it's growing, but it doesn't have the global appeal of Football Manager. But like Football Manager is very niche.
I'm not sure, man. It's just difficult. I think
It's growing.
I do think that
And maybe they should be doing this. I'm in agreement. Like I think it would be good, but I can see, I'm trying to think why it doesn't happen, and I think why it doesn't happen is because they have to put everything through Sega. And, you know, Sega has a limited budget to promote all their games and produce press and announce stuff. They're like, okay, we can put this at Tokyo Game Show, we can put this at Gamescom. And like Tokyo Game Show was a week ago, right? And they just had a booth with a frog. Like, you know, they didn't have and the trailer on loop, right? Like, whereas like, you know, Tekken or Sonic or whatever has massive
think about it now. Like, think about everything that you said about their level of quality and stuff. Do you think Sega would have been happy about that? I mean, Sega must have approved that, but do you think they would have been happy about that? There's no way they could have been happy about that, but then turned down something
happy. Of course they're not happy.
That's what I'm saying. But then there's no way they would have turned down something like an opportunity of showing people behind. And again, we're not asking them to reveal the curtains and show us. Like, it could just literally be a 15-minute video. I don't know.
Well,
but
I think you hit the other problem. They're probably not ready for that at the minute, which is
you
like
think-
part
No,
of
but they've
the
done it.
problem.
No, but they've done it though. We've seen the blogs of the two women footballers that spent every Friday or something like that in the thing doing these, and they've done it.
Well,
It's
this was
all
back
done.
in 2020.
But this is what I'm saying though. Like,
So with that, then, do you think that let's just try and like work? I'm going to use the word spin. I know this is ultimately what we're talking about here is PR, and we're talking about spinning, isn't it? Is there a chance then, therefore, that the SI they have to learn from this, right? So how do they learn from this to improve going forward? Is it the fact that they've got something like, for example, the footage of female footballers going through the drills, doing all their passing, doing all their movements, showing the work that's going on behind the scenes? If they dug that footage out, right, posted it, give all this a week or so to not necessarily die down, but like, you know, spend a week putting a PR plan together, and then go, right, look, just so you know, this is what we were working on, right? Okay, this is what we've been doing. For anyone who's accusing us of not doing anything over the past 18 months, whatever, this is where we are, right? Okay, and then they can drip feed this little bits of information. Say, look, we can't show you the match engine yet because we don't think it's ready for public consumption, okay? However, this is what the motion capture looks like, right? And here's what we've got women's footballers doing, and here's what we've got men's footballers doing. So you understand we had to redo this completely because it's on Unity. Yeah. We used to have it already pre-done when it was on the old engine, but we've now had to start it all from scratch and make just a little 10-minute video explaining that. And maybe this is part of it. Maybe SI need to explain just how big a leap moving from the current engine into Unity actually is, because I don't think the vast majority of us fully appreciate what a job this actually is. I know I certainly don't understand how complicated it is, but I get it's complicated, and that's, you know, could they do those little things?
I don't, and I can't, because they say, oh, it's all in written words that how difficult it is, and that is it. That's all I can take, but that's it. That's all. That's all they're saying. It's difficult and it's a big change, but I don't fully appreciate or understand how big of a change it is, because I just see
the Unity
nothing.
video they put out does show some of the difficulties that they had.
That's what I'm saying, but that's 2 days ago.
That comes out 2 days prior to an announcement that they're delaying the game
that
until
should've
March.
came out.
It's like,
True,
could that have come out 6 weeks ago?
Before you announcing any sort of delay, we could have, but not even purposely or initially, like, oh, let's give them this so it's not so bad when we have to announce. No, it's not even like that. It's just, I think that should just have been the plan anyway from the get-go. It's not only are they giving us something, but sort of documenting it, sort of giving us an idea of the big change, because we want to be excited with you. Like, we know the studio must be excited about this big change going to Unity and what they could possibly do. Like, we want to be excited with you as well. And I don't know, just seeing it, I think would have just made the situation. And it's not just seeing it. There's obviously other things that we've spoken about in the show. It's not just, if they just did this, it would have fixed everything. I don't think that, but at the same time, I think that's just been part of the rollout of FM25 anyway, regardless. I think that's just been it, because it's such a new adventure. Such a new adventure. And there's going to be like, possibly their plan is in the future is to give us some sort of documentary about it. But as we know at the moment, there's no documentary of the change whatsoever. And it's just, and here's the new engine. And then, we're just there with FM25. But
what happens if they put out something that people either A, says looks subpar, or B, that they can't actually match in reality?
I don't think you can't. But I don't think you can with just showing things like people going through the motions. Like, it's all they're doing is like they're hooked up to the technology, and they're showing.
We can do the mocap videos all day long, but what about the other stuff, right? Like, we can't show anything in game.
Okay, well,
that's what I'm saying. You don't have
could
to.
They? And again, we're just speculating here. Could they? Because that's, again, probably need to understand that people have worked on this for about 18 months now. So the SI staff who've been working on the game are just as gutted as we are that this is not happening.
Yeah, 100%.
Right now. In fact, they're probably going back to work harder on the stuff to make sure it's definitely ready for March. And in fact, if anything, probably puts more pressure on them to make sure that the game's good, because now, in the vast majority of people's eyes, this game's gotta be good in March. Like, if you're taking another 6 months, it gotta be good, right? Like, could you have little, teeny tiny 5-minute, 2-minute interviews with someone who works in the match team, someone who works as a researcher, someone who works in sound development, someone who works in PR? Just a quick little, hello, here's who I am. I'm currently working on the match engine, right? I can't show you them just now, but trust me, we've made fantastic advances from what you have seen. We're constantly trying to make it look like real football. We're doing our best. You've already seen the video of the motion capture. What we do is we then pull that into, and then you show a little screen of like the stick drawings, because you don't have to show anything then. So you don't show the actual match engine, but it just solidifies it in people's reality that work is happening. We all know work is happening, but for some people, it's just easier to know that when you can add something like that to it, to be like, oh, hey, did you see the video with the researcher the other day telling us how they go and research all the footballers? Wasn't that cool? Like,
Yeah.
it's just the extra bit of behind the scenes stuff that people would love. And we get it all the time when we say, oh, who do you want on the show as guests? We always get, can you get someone who works in real football? Can you get someone who works in real football to come on the show? Because it's the bit that no one gets access to. So if the public can get a little bit of access to SI in terms of seeing how the game's developed, it's an extra bit of like, oh my God, you're not going to believe what we get to see. This is so cool. This is amazing. And when we get SI staff on, it's that extra little bit of, oh, cool. Can you explain to us exactly how the game is made? And it's just an extra bit of rounding people's knowledge.
Oh, what? Yeah, they could do that, but maybe I mean, that's...
I'm aware that the answer at that point is, yeah, they could do. Yeah,
but, I mean, why do they need to when we do that?
I suppose, yeah.
Like, I mean, that's what the content creators are out there doing, right? That's what we've got 5 months to do now. If anyone works in the real world of football wants to come on the show, we do have people lined up. That's or anyone any researchers who work on Foot Manager, if you're allowed to and you want to come on, we're all ears. If you work at Sports Interactive, just don't tell your boss. No, I think we
have several emails.
Well, we've had people from Sports Interactive on before. And hopefully we will again if we don't upset them too much.
We've got stuff lined up. The requests have already been put in.
If anyone who works on top 11 football wants to come on, but we can talk it. Like, if you make a football management game, it's an interesting and fascinating perspective, and get in touch with us. We're open-ish. We don't want Joe Blogs who thinks we should be added to the game on the show. Sorry.
Yeah. Don't just get in touch going, I've got some things to say, because
start your own pod.
The YouTube comments are for that. Certainly got some responses there. But yeah, I mean, look, okay, let's look at the alternatives then, right? The alternatives are, we've got 6 more months of FM24, right? Not the end of the world, because FM24 in the main, we presume will still run for the next 6 months. Some versions, may not, depending upon licenses, we don't know. But let's work on the assumption that FM24 still works for the next 6 months. What we've got to do as a podcast is we've got to keep that level of interest up for the next 6 months. We've got to continue to talk about Football Manager, both in terms of what it is now and what it's going to be in the future. We've still got to go, right, okay, fine, we're disappointed, but we have to move on from it. It's done. There's nothing we can change. There's nothing we can do about it. We can bitch and moan all we want. It's not going to fix anything, right? SI have now got 6 months to fix it. That's the thing. They've got that time. They've been given an extension. Like at school, you give an extension for your homework, and you go, right, okay, you got your extension. You can't go back and ask for another extension. Like it's like that.
Capping their mark at 40, though. They can't get higher than a 40.
Well, yeah. Speaking to educators here. So yeah, we've got they've got that time to go and finish their work, and then we've got our time to come up with some ideas. So do we start coming up with ideas for new challenges? Do I maybe complete Greece at some point then? Is this a blessing in disguise that I can now go towards building a Greek nation, or do I just sack it off and go, it's time to go back to Sunderland?
I think you've got time for a full save. I mean, you've got rest of October, November, December, January, February, March. So 6 months, right? 5.5 months, 6 months, depending on when in March it is. Let's assume towards the end, because why not? Like you got 6 months to. Did they actually say a date? I don't think they did, right?
No. I don't think they're not
they just said March. Yeah.
But they didn't say, like, they didn't indicate whenabouts. Did they say end of March, start of March?
Just said
nothing.
Just said March.
Okay, cool. So yeah, like let's let's just go with the idea that, I mean, you can run a whole nother save in your game. You want to go start a new journey, man? Do it. You want to go to a Pentagon challenge? Do it. Like,
Aaron, you've got 25 more saves.
Yeah, but like I said, like we spoke a bit earlier in it. Like for me, mentally, for me, it's like my head's not there. I have to prepare for that or psych myself up for that. Like I said, me mentally, I'm FM24. I'm checked out. Like I can't. It's difficult for me to invest in the save and stuff because my head was already in FM25. Like even now. Like we're doing a stream at the moment. We're Birmingham City taking them from League One, obviously using the data update from a mod, and then trying to get them into the Premier League. And again, we don't know what the aim is for the thing, and I'm mainly doing it because I just need someone to talk to every day. So I just said the stream on sort of thing. But so it's gonna take me a little while to like, because for me like to recommend like people do this, do that. Like I have to buy into it as well. Otherwise, it's just silly to me to tell people not to do it, and it's like. Well, I would never do that myself, sort of thing, yeah. But I'm just like, from now, I'll probably get there in a little while. Because obviously, Foot Manager now is like, nothing's happening for many people, so they've just got no option anyway to. People are just going to look for us for inspiration anyway, and I might just like, sort of, that's where my hype might come back for it, for FM24. People just constantly watching. I'm feeling it now. Like the more people are watching, the more that I'm actually just going to stream in it as well, and I'm going to play Football Manager. So for me, that's me doing the support-ish. Like I'm always going to play Football Manager anyway, regardless. Up to the point, it's just I might not just buy into a save. Like I might not engage into a save and just constantly stay there. I might be Birmingham on a Wednesday, and then you come back on a Thursday, and I'm somewhere in Greece or somewhere in Latvia. That might happen.
Because I think this is the thing, isn't it? The more like I'm trying to think how I word this. The more we go, oh yeah, this is crap. FM24 is not great. Blah 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 blah. I'm not playing it. The less people are going to engage with what we're doing. So I'm still very much on the thing of we can still make we are content creators. We can still make things that are good. Our job is to create stories. It's to sell stories. It's to have talking points on the podcast. If we stop playing it, then the podcast is going to get very dry. For the next 6 months.
Like, even now, I don't believe people are watching me while still playing Football Manager FM24. I don't believe everyone's doing it. They're still probably just watching my thing because they're so used to and just want to watch Football Manager content regardless. Yeah. Maybe it's me, or maybe it's just Football Manager, or maybe the combination of me and Football Manager. But people still want to see Football Manager clearly. Like ignore today because obviously people would have watched me regardless because of the news. But yesterday, the day before, people are tuning in for the whole session watching me play Football Manager, a game that they probably might have stopped playing themselves, or they might be playing themselves regardless, is at the end of the cycle and people are still watching. That's why I still have that confidence that regardless, people are still going to watch it. But yeah, it might actually depend on January when Football Manager do eventually show some gameplay. It might depend there. That's when people might be like, okay, I'm done here. Sort of thing. That
Okay. Well,
or they might be like,
if they're done with that, referee simulator. Get them on board with that.
Yeah.
Sell them a bit of referee simulator.
I'm stuck. Like, people keep messaging me, when's the next episode? When's the next episode? I'm stuck in a big grind in that. Like, I'm just like, every match is plays out the same. Although I think they've added throw-ins now, which are really hard to determine. And I'm like, I'm sure these throw-ins weren't here before because they've never had any. And now I've got to determine who gets the throw-in. Isn't that a weird feature that they've added? Throw-ins. Yes. They have added.
So breaking news. Greece beat England.
Oh, did they really?
no way.
Build
It was
a
like
nation. Greece is
2-0
complete.
up, wasn't it? What was the score? 2-1. Oh, wow.
2-1.
I thought England were leading. Must have been a goal ruled out. So yeah, I've got a suggestion for you. Friend of the show, FM Llama, has just released a video. Now, Aaron, man of 26 saves, FM Llama's video, A to Z of Football Manager saves, 1 a week, 26 weeks, half a year, 6 months, takes you to a launch of FM25. Can I get you on board?
I don't know.
You're a man who likes to start a new save, 1 for every letter of the alphabet.
Yeah,
You
but
can
I
go
don't
through
start
Lama's
like the
video.
save as a challenge. Like for me, like when I'm trying to run away from challenges. Sort of. Like I'm trying to. It's not so much because for me, like, the idea of a challenge just sounds so amazing, so great. The moment I'm in a challenge, my head is like wondering. I'm like, but I want to start doing this. So it's like a Brazilian only challenge or whatever, and it's like, but that Brazilian, that Brazilian striker, man, that Italian striker, that Argentinian striker. I'm like, but my head, like, I feel that so when I'm in a challenge, I feel like I'm not utilizing the whole game, basically, if that makes sense. Like, the Football Manager is so detailed, there's so much in the game. If I just limit myself to some parts of the game, then I'm like, then what's the point? Sort of thing.
Okay,
like,
they're just saves. It's just saves A to Z of teams.
yeah, I know, but I just like, it's just like with every save, like it's like similar. When you watch me do recruitment, it's like I'm not recruiting. I don't have one method. It's always a different thing. Like, and I'm doing it off the fly as well. I'm not thinking like I'm a strike. Like, I need a striker. Then just randomly, I'm like, all right, go transfers, director of football, see what he recommends. And then there might be next week, I need a winger. Then I'm going and player search, and my method is completely different. Now I'm looking at data and stuff. So it's like I just enjoy that freedom of just roaming around the Football Manager world.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, right? Let's start to wrap up this then, because I reckon that's probably the next episode then. Like, what do we do over the next 6 months? Let's get ourselves some inspiration, right? I think what we do at this point, we've got 6 months to just have fun. Try some stuff you've never done before. Have a save you've never done before. Recruit in a different way. Put a different skin on. Manage a different team. Come up with some new tactics. Yes, Mr. Falloon, you have an answer for me.
Mine would be doing events, doing like I think again,
Do a
like
draft.
drafts tend to come around at times when it's needed. I remember last draft, it was around the COVID times. A draft, it might be needed again
you
this
think the
time.
draft
I think this time it might come back, and it might be again viewers, right? Like I mean streamers.
£10
If you're
Patreon.
streaming,
£10 Patreon. We'll do a draft with you. If you're a £10 Patreon.
But literally, right? Like I might as well, I guarantee that that's one way to keep. That could be my if any other content creator wants to make sure the engagement is still there. Just do drafts with your viewers and whatever. Just sit there, have a chat with your viewers and whatever. Let them join. Maybe just up to 3, up to 4, whatever it is. If you're listening at home and you want to keep continuing yourself as well, just find a mate or find someone in the Football Manager community that will do a draft, a 1v1, and that is possibly that big side.
Si, you run a draft, don't you?
Yeah, well, not at the minute, but yes, sometimes.
And
I
that
mean,
might
maybe
be-
I'll have to. I said it wouldn't be coming back for FM25. I might be made to eat my words, and I might have to run some.
Yeah, just
Or I mean, Aaron, you
just
could.
some events.
Why don't you play the console mode on stream? The console
Oh,
version.
could do that. I could do that. Might be too
You are
quick for me
a
though.
fan-
Try something
Yeah.
safe, show off the
And then
principles.
people are coming like, wait, you finished the season already? I'm like, mate, 2 seasons.
Versus mode. Enjoy a bit of versus mode. Maybe try that. Get on with
Yeah.
that. It's not going to be there next year.
I
That's,
don't
yeah,
think
like,
anyone's in
literally.
versus mode though.
Sorry?
No
Is it
one's
versus-
in it. If you go try to find a match, I don't know if you'll find any.
Right,
But-
get a load of mates, right?
Well, Aaron versus his viewers, right?
That's what
Bring
I'm saying.
your
There'll be one
teams.
day where I've built my team up and my save, and I'm right. If you think your team is better than mine, versus mode. And then
Someone brings in their one that's
Well-
FM edited up to max.
Hey, you know what? It's pro clubs for FM, right? Let's do it that way. You know,
Yeah.
Get some suggestions going on the Discord, right? If you're not in the Discord, join the Discord now. Let's start coming up with some ideas as to how we can have fun over the next 6 months, because that's where we're going to be, right? We've got to try and get some stuff going on. That I think is probably the best way to do it. Drop us emails as well if you want to expand upon your thoughts as to where the game is at the minute. And I think now's a good time to really start getting some correspondence. So if you've got some things you want to get off your chest, send us an email, thefmshowpod@gmail.com. That's thefmshowpod@gmail.com. Follow the social media accounts as well, which is the FM Show Pod, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, the usual X. And Aaron, I'm going to let
X
you.
gon' give it to ya.
I'm going to let you plug the Patreon as well, because if you want to get some people in draft, and then you've got to start drumming on that business, right? So
make sure you go to the Patreon. Make sure you go to patreon.com/the FM Show Pod. That's patreon.com/the FM Show Pod, where you can support the channel from as little as £3. Just like Dagenham Dave. Now, Dagenham Dave, despite all the news about FM25 being delayed, the guy signed up to be a free trial and he thought, nah, that's not good enough. Then he signed up to a paying tier as well. To shout out to Dagenham Dan. Thank you for that. It's a much
Dan or Dave? He's changed name. He's unsubscribed already.
Because in our email, there's 2 emails and it's just throwing me off. There's a David email as well, it just threw me off quickly. It's Dagenham Dan. Because there's David, look, and there's someone also signed up as David as well. Like, my head just threw off. I was reading 2 emails at once. Yeah, Dagenham Dan. And also
What?
shout out to Dave Gunn.
what I love there was that usually Aaron fudges the link, but it's like when Dave, also known as Dan.
As long as it's not Dagenham Gun, that's probably someone else.
Yeah. Dave Dagenham, that's like a wrestler's name, isn't it? Right, okay. I think this is a good place to end it, right? We appreciate this has been a bit of a rushed one. It'll be out. Have a bit of a conversation with us. Leave us some comments, Si. Isn't that right? Comment.
Only nice ones.
No, if
No
you want to leave us
wangs,
horrible
in the
ones as
words of
well, then
Lelujo.
drive the algorithm.
Yeah,
More
to
than
be
welcome
fair,
to that.
drive the algorithm and I'll just hide them if you're a complete wang. If you're a sexist. You can't call them a sexist, offends them. So yeah. There's no meaning in it.
But yeah, so yeah, let us know what you think, and yeah, we'll come back with another episode. Yeah, that's where we are. Take care of yourselves, everyone. Play nicely. See you soon. Bye now.